Moving on to Jeremy Saltan, who joins us now, political strategist and advisor for the Yamin Hadash, the New Right Party, coming to us from Jerusalem here. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you, David.
I want to ask you, this morning, some of us woke up to a lot of the news reports that it appeared that the right-wing bloc may have been on the verge of completing a government here, bringing in Avigdor Lieberman. Some of the initial reports today were sort of swirling around that. Have we seen the end of that bit of drama for the morning, do you think?
Well, what we have right now is a sort of weird period of time where we're after the second mandate, we're before the third mandate. And what these signatures are to figure out who gets the third mandate, if anyone will. So what Lieberman is saying here is that he's willing to sign for both of them, meaning he'll sign both for Gantz and for Netanyahu, because to him, whoever gets the third mandate is irrelevant. He wants to see a national unity government. Now, these signatures are not going to create a government overnight. What it will do is prolong the window that we have in order to form a government. So is that going to happen today or tomorrow? I don't think so.
Well, today, speaking of today, the Blue and White Party representatives meeting again with Yuli Edelstein of the Likud party here, who's holding a series of meetings here. It seems he's remaining as one of the chief diplomats in this process right now. What do we expect? I mean, should we have expectations for these talks? We've seen these two sides already speak so many times directly in the last months. What about today?
So what Israeli law says is that if the president fails with his first two choices, that the third mandate should go to the Knesset. And the one that's supposed to shepherd through that process is the speaker. So what Speaker Edelstein is doing is really his job. This is something that we saw Rivlin do during the first two mandates, where he went ahead and brought both sides together within his office to try to get them to reach a solution. Of course, we saw that Rivlin's efforts did not get us anywhere. I'm sure that the great majority of Israelis are really hoping that the speaker will be able to. Of course, there's the elephant in the room that Edelstein is of the Likud party. So there is this fear from Blue and White that he's favoring too much Netanyahu. On the other hand, we have all of these rumors talking about a situation where possibly Edelstein would try to even put himself in as a compromise candidate. So you have misinformation from both sides. I'm not quite sure that we will see something, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone does get the signatures by the end of the 21 days.
Well, it's good to hear someone speaking on the side of optimism or on this topic here. Jeremy Saltan, we'll be back with you and just later on in our broadcast. Thanks for being with us. Well, Jeremy Saltan joins us again here, political strategist and advisor for the New Right Party there. A character you're familiar with here, Naftali Bennett, the new defense minister now. He's made a lot of threats since taking the defense portfolio here against Iranian leadership, talking about taking a tough stance on the return of bodies with Palestinians, even talking about harsh response, even harsher responses to every rocket fired out of Gaza now. Is he representing real policy change, or are these the words of a new defense minister? What's your take on that?
So we're 3 weeks to the day from when Naftali Bennett took office of the defense ministry, and that is, of course, during the beginning stages of Operation Black Belt, which was deemed a complete success. We took out over a couple dozen Islamic Jihad terrorists, which is quite an effective number considering the short amount of time the operation took place. Unlike previous rounds, after the ceasefire was enacted, there were a few rockets that did get launched from the Gaza Strip. But unlike previous times, the last one to send a rocket or to respond was Israel. That's a very big difference. Besides that, we returned to a policy of targeted killings. We're also in a situation now where we have gone back to destroying the homes of terrorists. We're in a situation where we have, as I mentioned, 3 weeks, right, since the defense minister has taken office, 3 weeks, the only 3 weeks over the last year plus in which Hamas has not allowed the protests by the fence. What you have here is really the start of something new. What we're seeing here is a real policy of deterrence, one that we have not seen in the past, and that comes from credibility, from being able to show that you have a credible threat and you understand not to go ahead and cross that line.
Another topic here that Naftali Bennett has really left us to discuss here today is the idea of expanding the neighborhood in the heart of Hebron here. Is this a credible plan he's putting forward in your eyes, or is he taking advantage of a political moment here where he's unlikely to get any real pushback?
I don't think there's anyone that's surprised that this is a move that Naftali Bennett is doing. Naftali Bennett has said pretty consistently, and he's also visited Hebron, that Hebron is a city, and it was also mentioned at the top of this segment that there has been a Jewish population in Hebron dating back pretty much to the time of Abraham. So this should not be a crazy thing when we're looking at the division through the Hebron agreement between H1 and H2. What the Jews do on the Jewish side of Hebron should not be a situation that the Palestinians have any influence over.
Thank you very much. Jeremy Saltan joining us from Jerusalem, and of course